Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiran Samarasinghe, Head of IR for Sunshine Holdings. On behalf of my team, I would like to welcome all of you this morning for the third quarter FY21 results webinar. First, to start, I would like to say that this webinar will be recorded and uploaded to our IR page for future reference for all of you. We will also mute all participants at the beginning, and the individual business heads can run through their presentations and unmute themselves and run through those. And also at the end of the presentation, we will open up for Q&A. Either you can unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can post your questions through the chat function, and I'll moderate it. Next, I would like to introduce all my colleagues around the table here. We have Mr. Vish Govindasamy, Group Managing Director, Mr. Shyam Sathasivam, Managing Director for Healthcare, Consumer and Energy, Mr. Aruna Deepthikumar, Group CFO, Mr. Shantha Bandara, CEO Pharma Healthcare, Mr. T. Sandan, CEO Medical Devices, Mr. Imtiaz Ali, CEO Healthcare, Mr. Surit Pereira, CEO Sunshine Consumer, Mr. Binesh Panambala, CEO Padula Plantations PLC, and also Mr. Aroshan Serasinghe, GM Sunshine Energy. So without further ado, I would like to hand the proceedings over to Vish to take you through some of the recent corporate announcements. Vish, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Hiran, and good morning to all you ladies and gentlemen for participating in our quarterly webinar on our results. So we appreciate your time. So we have made a few announcements just to clarify the announcements to you. The amalgamation of Estate Management Services into Sunshine Holding. If you remember, Estate Management Services Private Limited was the holding company for our agribusiness and our consumer business, Vatavala Tea Salon, in which we had a 60-40 partnership with the Wilmar Group. So in order to acquire 100% of Vatavala Tea Salon by Sunshine, and also you all were aware, we sold part of the plantation company named as Hatton Plantations, and then we restructured with a new holding company only to hold the current Vatavala Plantations. So all the proceeds of all these transactions ended up at Estate Management Services Limited, which is now owned by 100% by Sunshine Holdings. So there was no need for another company. Therefore, we amalgamated Estate Management Services into Sunshine Holdings. If you have further questions during the Q&A, I can clarify if there is more clarifications necessary. This was a long outdrawn transaction that took place, and because of all the regulatory requirements, it took a little time to get done. Interim dividend, of course, does not require any explanation from me, but it goes with the decent results that the group has announced over the last 3 quarters. So we felt it is in order for an interim dividend to the shareholders. So that is in keeping with that, a 1 rupee per share interim dividend has been declared. The other announcement again is the subdivision of shares. Main reason, once again, as you know, there is lack of liquidity of the Sun shares in the market. This will allow ample liquid shares of Sun in the market to trade for the future. That was the thinking behind doing the subdivision of shares, that is 1:3. This is, of course, subject to the approval of the shareholders of the EGM to be held soon. So those are the corporate announcements. Again, I will answer any detailed questions later on. I will now pass it to my colleague Shyam Sathasivam to take on next. stage of the webinar.
Sure. Thank you, GMD. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for being here this morning for the Sunshine Holdings results webinar. Given all the news about Sunshine and the opportunities that we've recently entered into, we thought it's a good time to sort of take you through our current structure and in terms of give you more depth into each of our sectors and the sort of businesses we are in. So primarily, let me start with the healthcare sector. In the healthcare sector, we are now the first fully integrated healthcare value chain player, starting at R&D and manufacturing, which came with our Lina manufacturing and the Aqua transaction. Of course, we're a major player in pharmaceuticals, and both in the procurement of pharmaceuticals as well as in the distribution. Medical devices, both surgicals and diagnostics, we're market leaders across categories, and retail with HealthCard. So healthcare, these are the primary four sort of businesses we're in, cutting across the value chain. In the Sunshine Consumer now, with the Dainty acquisition, we have moved beyond tea. We are now both in beverages, which is our tea-based businesses, as well as confectionery, which cuts across, toffees, biscuits, chocolates, etc. So Sunshine Consumer is our significant scale opportunity in the consumer sector. Our agribusiness, both Watavalla plantations for palm oil, and as GMD said, we have exited the tea sector, and of course, Watavalla Dairy for our dairy farm and our finished product. Our fourth vertical is energy, renewable energy, started with mini hydro, and the recent years we've focused on solar. Of course, we do have other investments, both in real estate as well as non-listed and listed investments. But primarily, here is a snapshot of Sunshine Holdings sectors and businesses. Let me move into giving you more depth on the healthcare transaction we've just concluded with the Aqua Group. So what has happened is Sunshine Healthcare, which was a 100% subsidiary of Sunshine Holdings, has merged with the healthcare businesses of the Aqua Brothers. So with that, we have acquired Aqua Pharmaceuticals, along which is a import and sort of distribution business for both pharmaceuticals and medical devices. They also held 87% of Aqua Pharma Holding, which is the manufacturing businesses, both Lina Manufacturing and Lina Spiro, which has a partner. As consideration for this merger, Aqua Brothers has taken equity in Sunshine Healthcare, initially for 25% for the businesses and acquired a further 3% for cash. So currently, Sunshine Healthcare is majority owned 72% by Sunshine Holdings and 28% by Aqua Brothers. And let me give you clarity beyond this business then moves into having in multi-sectors. The multi-sector is we cut across from R&D manufacturing into procurement importing into physical distribution and retail. So this is what we mean by Sri Lanka's first fully integrated pharmaceutical value chain player. So this will give us significant opportunity to expand in each of these areas and take product from end to end. Of course, manufacturing, which is our latest entrant with the Lina acquisition, has a large opportunity in procurement from the government. Lina has primarily been a leader in the respiratory space. So primarily in terms of capsules. Now with the new Lina Spiro plant, we are Sri Lanka's first metered dose inhaler. So the picture there shows you the dose inhalers, your typical Ventolin, Flexotide, etc. So this would be significant. So we are able to manufacture the entire capacity for the country of this product. Lina Manufacturing also does creams, gels, syrups. So across the board, there is manufacturing capacity. We are right now utilizing about 1/3 to 35% capacity. So there's significant headroom for growth in these businesses. And we see a large opportunity in pharmaceutical manufacturing, both for the government sector, but also for the private sector. A lot of our partners are keen to sort of diversify their supply chain and have some local manufacturing of their key brands that are currently imported. So this was the missing link in Sunshine Healthcare, and with this merger, we've been able to achieve that. So that's it for me from the group structure as well as the healthcare transaction. Let me pass on to my colleagues, Aruna, who's the group CFO, who will take you through our results for third quarter. Aruna?
Thank you, MD. Good morning, everyone. Let me take you through the group financial results for the third quarter of the financial year. It is happy to announce that this is one of the best quarter for the Sunshine Group in terms of revenue and profitability. You can see the recorded a 22% year-on-year revenue growth and 29% PAT growth. And also in terms of PATMI contribution, 388 million for the quarter. In terms of revenue contribution, healthcare dominated, which is 51% contributed to the group revenue, and also 12.9% year-on-year revenue growth. And also consumer segment contributed 34% revenue, and this results include the newly acquired Dainty Limited revenue, which is 605 million for the quarter. And moving on to the group financial highlights, again, this includes 4 months Dainty results as well. And the group recorded 17.4 billion revenue, which is a 13% growth year-on-year. And also EBIT and PAT growth, 28% and 32% respectively. And you can also see that EPS has grew by 30% and recorded 7.34 rupees per share. And also I would like to highlight here that overall group, the finance cost reduced by 12%. That is mainly due to interest rate drop year-on-year, which the group has harvested the benefit out of that. So I'm here to answer any of your questions during Q&A, and I would like to hand over Sayandan, CEO Medical Devices of Sunshine Healthcare.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to take you through some of the market conditions for the healthcare. As you can see, actually it was a very challenging but a rewarding quarter for healthcare. Why I say this is because in Q1, we had the curfew environment where we had a lot of market challenges, but still we capitalized the opportunities. In Q2, we saw largely the normalcy returning, which helped us to do better marketing activities to achieve better sales. And in Q3, again, the challenge hit us with the second wave coming in. And this time it was not curfew, but lockdown in specific areas. So this impacted, as you can see in the slide, the hospital occupancy, which was low in Q1, increased in Q2, then again dropped in Q3. Same for lab tests, because since our diagnostics heavily depend on lab tests in the private and the government sector, you see a similar scenario. Q1 being lower, Q2 increasing, Q3 coming down. And so was operation theater condition, because we largely depend on our surgical items on this. Having said this, having these challenges, our team worked on every opportunity that we can get so that we increased our revenue, we kept our overheads and the cost lower, so we increased our profit. So to deliver the performance of healthcare, let me hand it over to my colleague, Mr. Shantha Bandara. Over to you, Shantha.
Thank you, Sayandan. While Sayandan shared some of the hospital metrics information, I'm very happy to share this slide where we did fairly well in the retail segment where the pharmacies are concerned. So you may see that what you see in blue bars are our market share during the last 4 or 5 quarters. You may see that every quarter to quarter we have been catching up, and we have actually grown much higher than where the market is where the market was growing. You may see that right now at Q3 ending, the market was growing at around 12%, whereas Sunshine Pharma healthcare business market share in the retail private market, we were growing at around 27%. So with that fair penetration in the retail segment, I would move to the next slide to give you the Q3 results. So penetrating into the retail, I'm very happy to announce that we were able to record almost a 13% growth in our revenues during the Q3. EBIT grew by 13%, which actually supported by the additional sales that we had with the 13% growth, and also by managing our costs during the quarter. With that, we have a very fair growth in our PAT. We are reporting a PAT growth of almost 27% with a PAT margin of 5.2%, which is largely supported by our sales volumes and the cost controls that we had during the quarter. So with that result, I would hand over to Infias to take over and give you more highlights on the retail business. Over to you, Infi.
Thank you, Shanta. I'll just quickly take you through the performance of HealthGuard for the Q3. So like Sayandan alluded before, Q3 was a period in which we also experienced lockdown. If you recall, Q1, we had 47 days of lockdown. In Q2, we had no days of lockdown, and Q3, we went back into 10 days of lockdown. Despite the lockdowns, HealthGuard was able to deliver a good, strong performance with a growth of almost 18%. This was primarily because of the footfall recovery and the customer base recovery that happened in the Q3. And we also saw these customers, while returning back to HealthGuard, that they were also purchasing more volumes per customer, which helped improve our overall revenue because the basket values grew well. We also saw that overall the digital platform also continued to do well despite having more non-lockdown days, but due to the lockdown plus our operational efficiencies that we brought in during the period, the digital platform continued to do extremely well. We were able to do 3 times the number of orders and deliveries that we did in Q1. So therefore, we really were able to improve our competency and our operational capabilities in the digital platform. One of the key reasons for our success was our loyalty engagement, where we continuously engaged our customers through our multiple mediums, including SMS and digital, social media, etc. This allowed customers to really engage with us, understand the kinds of promotions and offers and services that we offer. We also saw that customers were also primarily focusing on coming primarily for pharma and wellness related products. So it was therefore important to take on initiatives to improve pharma range and wellness range to ensure that we are able to fulfill all customer needs. So these are some of the new things that we initiated in this Q3, actually trickling down from Q1 to adjust to the new normal that allowed us to deliver this 18% growth. With that, I will now hand over to Surit to take you through the consumer results. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Surit Pereira, CEO of now what we call the consumer segment. So the consumer segment now includes the tea segment and the confectionery segment. So if you look at the performance of the tea category, now this is the picture at the end of 9 months. There's the volume growth of 11%. However, the value growth is only 2% because of the negative price growth. The negative price growth happened because in last year, third quarter, Unilever took a price decrease and we had to follow. So that is the main reason for the negative price growth. Having looked at the 9 months performance, if you look at the 3 months performance, the quarter three has been a significant quarter for us, where we, if you can go back to the previous slide, yeah, where our growth was 18%. So we had a volume growth of 18% and a value growth of 10%. Now, given the facts that I have put on this slide, you might ask, how did you achieve this? So there are 3-4 factors. Whilst the consumer purchasing power declined, the demand for essentials was good. And also the fact that people were at home also benefited some categories like biscuits and also tea. So we don't see a market increase in the Nielsen numbers where they track only the grocery segment. But when we look at the Kantar numbers, there we see a 14% volume growth that has happened in the market. So of course we have grown beyond the market, and then with market shares we have finished in December with 38.3% volume share, whereas with the Unilever, our main competitor, the share being 34.3%. In value share, we are at 38.2%, whereas our main competitor is at 32.3%. So in a market where it was very challenging, we have really done well, especially in quarter three, where in October we started with almost 40 territories impacted by COVID. Next slide, please. Yeah. So if you look at the numbers, here we will see the consumer segment, which includes the D&T numbers. So for the 9 months, it is a 4 billion achievement, 4.2 billion. And for the third quarter, 4.9 billion. Yeah. And then for the third quarter, it is a 2.2 billion achievement. If you look at EBIT, the EBIT number compared to the previous year is a bit down. However, that is also because of the GP being low. GP margin is 31.1% compared to 34.6% last year. This is because of tea prices increasing. However, with the overhead reduction of 7%, we have been able to achieve these numbers. So in terms of PAT, there is a decline. However, this is mainly because of the tea prices and also the revenue achievement. Yeah, so with D&T in quarter three grew by 11%. And so that has also been a good achievement. With also teas, the schools being closed because children, your target market is children. So schools being closed and the school canteens, tuition class canteens being closed has impacted the toffee category somewhat. However, all other categories have shown double-digit growth. And we have done in integrating the D&T business with the tea business, we have progressed very well. We have implemented Salesforce automation and we have done the pilots and implemented it in February. Production with the significant changes, modifications have been done, increasing the production by almost 29%. And also, there have been some capital investments for the future. A good performance in Q3, and with the dairy business coming in, we are looking forward to even a better performance in Q4. Okay, I'll hand over to Binesh, who will take you through the agribusiness.
Thank you, Surit. Good morning to all of you. I'm Binesh. Doing agribusiness. It's basically, it covers two sectors in the agribusiness of Sunshine. It is oil palm business, which is the palm oil, and dairy business. In terms of the first 9 months and also for the quarter, the agribusiness, it has been quite a good growth and also one of the best quarters what we ever had for the business. These mainly due to two prongs. One is the palm oil business have been doing good in terms of the top numbers and also the pattern. In the meantime, the dairy business, which recovered from last year, did well in the third quarter, and starting from the second quarter, the continuation of good performance in the dairy business was evident and contributed for this performance. In terms of the global palm oil production side, there is a downfall, there is a shortfall in the global production, which is similarly affecting the local production as well. Which we have seen mainly in the third quarter. There is a drop in crop across the country, which is evident for all regional plantation companies and both the mills that we are in operation in the country. On the other hand, on the dairy business side, we have been having a production above what we have projected, and also overall the prices for dairy have been quite good, and there is a big potential for the dairy industry to go forward. And also with taking into the regulation that would put into for import of milk to this country, there is a huge savings which have been made in importation. So that has a jump in the local production. There is no increase as of now when compared with the last year, but there is a big demand for the local produced liquid milk. With regard to the numbers, the agri grew by 14% for the first 9 months and 9.2% for the third quarter, which has a PAT increase on 98% when compared with the third quarter of 2020, which is quite good performance. Similarly, the 9 months agri ended up with 1.2 billion PAT, which is 62.6% over the last year. So in the segment wise, the palm oil sector contributes for 83%, whereas the dairy sector contributes for 17% on the revenue, and also for the first 9 months also the similar level. With regard to the palm oil global prices, there have been an increase from last year. Mainly due to the reduction and the shortfall in crop, and also the production has shot up the world market price from 520 USD in month of May to 31st December, about 894, and maintaining in the same range. And also that I must say that the price share on the commodity levy or duty component, they had not been changed since May. So that have been quite good for the industry. In terms of the loss that what we had in terms of the crop had been, there have been increase in the price, so that we have mitigated the part of the losses through the price increases. At the same time, there have been improvement in the reduction of costs and mitigating cost, optimizing the cost initiatives have been one reason for the agri sector to do well within the third quarter and the first 9 months. So with that, I would like to hand over to Aroshan to take you through the Sunshine Energy.
Thank you, Binesh. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I think the slide in front of you will give you a snapshot of the performance for the energy sector. If you look at third quarter, there has been a slight degrowth vis-a-vis corresponding third quarter of last year. This is largely due to the unfavorable weather conditions from the hydro plants, because significant component of our revenue still comes from hydro. So compared to last year, we had a slight degrowth of 10%, which reflected in the bottom line as well. But if you look at the 9 months performance, it has been an excellent year thus far, because the first half performance mitigated and offset the third quarter reduction in revenue. So as you can see, we have a 37% growth 9 months, which reflects in the bottom line as well, 108 million PAT, the 265% growth. If you look at in terms of our mix, we still have 6.6 megawatts on hydro, but where we are keen to grow is on the solar sector, and the needle has moved somewhat. We have commissioned our first non-captive business, which is the 500 kilowatt project, which is generating, it's contributing to the national grid. And in the months to come, we are very bullish on some more of these non-captive businesses being connected to the national grid. So as it stands, even the plant factors are quite healthy, in excess of 40% for the hydro sector, and solar is around 14 to 15%. So thank you. That's it from me on the energy sector. I'll hand it back to Hiran for the Q&A.
Thanks, Aroshan. So I think given that the sector presentations are done with, we'll straight away jump into Q&A. I have already received some questions. So I'll start with one from Asia. When can we expect the consolidation of the Agro Pharmaceutical to reflect in Sunshine Group earnings and the approximate increase in performance by the amalgamation? Sorry.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, sure. So consolidation begins from February. So for this financial year, it'll be only for 2 months, Feb and March. And primarily, big picture for us, next year, we expect the business to contribute to 2.5 billion top line, primarily coming from a mix of the agency businesses, both in pharmaceutical agencies as well as medical devices, and close to 50% from the manufacturing business, Lina Manufacturing. So broadly about 2.5 billion contribution to the healthcare sector top line is what we expect. Of course, we will have to invest also to further increase capacity in manufacturing.
Thanks, Sham. I think we have 2 more from Asia, one on consumer. I think Aruna can take this. Consumer, the EBIT has grown by 51%, but the PAT has increased at a lower rate. Any particular reason? Aruna, do you know on that?
Yes, for the daily acquisition, the whatever PC loan took a long-term loan. For that, we paid the interest expenses on that loan. That's the main reason for declining the PAT.
Thanks, Aruna. And also another question on dairy. What is the current plan on dairy segment? Are there any plans to increase capacity given the higher demand seen on fresh milk? Binesh, do you want to take that?
Yeah, actually, taking into the current demand in the milk for milk in the country, we are in the process of increasing the capacity by increasing the number of cattle in the farm. So that's the first one which we are doing. Then apart from that, we are also in the process of obtaining land to grow our own feed, by which we should be able to reduce our cost in procurement of our dairy feed. So these are the two things which we are working at currently.
Thanks, Vinesh. So I think we have a three-part question from Sanjay. I think as a sub-question regarding the merger, I think Shyam already answered. I think on the healthcare segment, the impact of the weakening rupee on the USD and the healthcare segment. Shyam, would you?
Shanta can.
Shanta, would you like to take that?
Yes, Binesh. Yes, Hiran. Sorry. Certainly, it's the last 3 weeks have been quite a sensitive impact on exchange, especially given that our healthcare business is depending on total imports. However, there are certain mitigation actions that we have taken. The problem that the pharmaceutical mainly would have is the controls on the prices. So we have been continuously lobbying for a price increase for gazetted products. So that is something that we are working with the pharmaceutical private chamber. And also we are following up with the bankers how the rates would actually come about in the next week or so. And we will actually try to manage the immediate impact by early settlement of our import bills. So those are some of the mitigation strategies that we have implemented in the healthcare business for imports. Thanks.
Thanks, Shanta. I think the third part of Sanjay's question is, please comment on the visibility of high leverage balance sheet of the Sunshine Company. That's the Sunshine Holding entity. I think Sanjay, this is mainly reflective of the bridge finance that we took to complete the restructure on the consumer and agri sector. As Vish mentioned earlier, with the amalgamation of EMSPL, this will be settled. And I think we'll revert back to normal levels soon. On the fourth question, what is the future of consumer brands other than DNT, and on the shrinkage of margins in consumer? I think Shyam will take that.
Sure. So two things you will see, and I saw an earlier question also on the differences between EBIT and PAT. Firstly, the consumer business has borrowed for the transaction, as you know, the DNT transaction. So we have interest costs coming into the business since Q3 last year. So that's what you're seeing between EBIT and PAT in terms of impact to bottom line in the consumer business. The shrinking margins has been, as my colleague Surit alluded to, with the price competition in the tea segment, and with higher now cost of tea, we're having some shrinkage of margin in that, but that's been cyclical in that business in that context. Dainty, of course, is at a higher margin. So what we see with the Dainty acquisition was current business and significant opportunity for growth in sub-segments. There's a lot to be done in the confectionery space, and we are investing in both capacity building as well as in brand building. So we see a lot of positives on the consumer space.
Thanks, Shyam. I think Praveen has asked about the future plans for dairy, which Dinesh already covered. I'll jump to the next one from Anjula. What is the expected EBIT margin from the Akba merger? So Akba has two separate businesses. One is the agency business and one is the manufacturing business. The agency business will be similar to our margins of the Sunshine Healthcare. EBIT margin on manufacturing?
Manufacturing should be higher than our import business. But what we will go through is investment, capital investment to further scale the plant, as well as use the current capacity. So we are seeing an opportunity through the next year to streamline and then drive for higher margins from being in the manufacturing sector.
Thanks, Shyam. There's a question from Ruchi asking what percentage of Akba Pharmaceutical is contributed by Lina. That Lina is the manufacturing entity. So currently it's approximately 1/3 of the revenue is coming from the manufacturing sector and 2/3 coming from the agency business. But in the future, I think the growth potential will be in the manufacturing, and that will, as a percentage of total, will grow in the future. Moving on to the next question from Nadika. At present, does the pharma manufacturing business have any contracts with the government? If so, could you quantify in terms of capacity volume? Shyam?
Sure. So currently, yes, Lina has majority of its business, close to 80% of its business is from government contracts for a few molecules, especially in the respiratory segment. I won't go into specifics of quantities, etc. But the opportunity is we're only using 1/3 of our capacity. So there's a lot more opportunity for both government contracts as well as for private contracts. So that's what is available at Lina.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Shyam. I think we have a clarification from Shara on that 2.5 billion incremental revenue expected from the merged entity. Is it post expanding the manufacturing business or with current resources? Like, what extent do you need new capex?
Sure. I would think the next year's 2 billion to 2.5 will come from current resources as well as from merger synergies, because this is primarily led by the agency business more than the manufacturing into the next sort of 12 months or so. What will probably happen more in a 3-year span will be greater growth from the manufacturing business. But the Akba transaction comes with a strong existing agency business, which contributes, as Hiran said, nearly 2/3 of the current revenue. So 2/3 of that 2 billion will come from that business itself in the next 12 months.
The next one, Shyam, is like any potential for exports in pharma segment?
So yes, I think the exports in pharma segment can come in 2 ways. One will be from Sri Lankan manufacturers attempting to find opportunities for their products in export market. I would think a better way would be for us to be part of the global supply chain. We have partners who we represent in Sri Lanka who have manufacturing across multiple countries. So Sri Lanka is another potential manufacturing diversification for them. They have supply contracts to governments in multiple countries. So we could be part of that supply chain. So for example, one of our Indian partners may have large tender opportunities in Latin America. Some of it could be manufactured from Sri Lanka and exported into markets like that. So I think more of that will evolve as better capacity building happens locally.
Okay. Another one on pharma. What percentage of pharma manufacturing are government guaranteed buybacks? And what is the current market share of the business?
So right now, the government, overall Sri Lanka pharmaceutical market is close to $500 million. The government is about $250 to $300 million of that business. They've been rapidly expanding into increasing procurement from local manufacturers. The volumes are broadly, macro market is probably 75% imported, 25% locally manufactured. In government, I think it's probably close to 40% locally procured. So that space will grow. That will continue to grow as more plants come on stream and all of us in the local manufacturing business achieve better economies of scale and manufacturing sort of expertise. The buybacks are a mechanism for the government to procure locally, but we will see that evolve into a more competitive bidding process as the market matures.
Thanks, Sham. I think let's jump into a question on energy from Nusrat. Any plans for the power sector, especially expanding solar? I think
Sure.
Arushan, would you like to take that?
Yeah, thanks, Iran. Yes, the immediate plans are focused on solar expansion. That there are multiple ways of expanding solar. One is currently we have been focused on rooftop, but as everyone knows, it's a bit of a red ocean. So we are very open on other elements of renewable energy on the solar space, especially on ground mounted and with regard to scaling up. I think as everyone knows, scaling up on rooftop, perhaps you can't scale up as fast as you want. So we are open on the ground mounted space as well. Whilst we keep an eye open for other renewable energy sources like wind and so on, and how these capex curves come down and the improvement of technology and so on. So overall sense, yeah, yes, Iran.
Thanks, Arushan. I think we'll take this question from Nikita on the consumer sector. Are you looking to step up from the candy business in Dainty, aiming for a larger portion of the wallet? Surit, do you mind taking that question?
Can you repeat that, Hiran?
Are you looking to step up from the candy business in Dainty, aiming for a larger portion of the wallet?
Yes, so we are looking at, there are many in the confectionery industry, there are many categories. We haven't decided on which categories to enter. However, definitely we will be looking at more categories in the future.
Thanks, Surit. Moving on to the next one from Ruchi. Would inhalers account for majority of the manufacturing revenues for Lena?
So our inhaler plant, which is Lena Spiro, which we recently commissioned, would start commercial production now that we have received approvals in the next few weeks. So through the next year, I think it'll be a slow buildup of capacity and for us to win more orders from the government, etc. In a 3-year horizon, inhalers would be a significant contribution to the business, but not majority.
Thanks, Sham. Again, another one on healthcare. Can Sunshine Healthcare benefit in any way with the vaccine distribution?
So yes, firstly, I think we can all benefit from getting the vaccine. So our partners in the vaccine business per se, so we represent, for example, Abbott Laboratories, where we do the flu vaccine. So hopefully they will get a sub-license at some point from one of the existing manufacturers. We also represent the Biological E, one of the world's largest pentavalent vaccine manufacturers, who also may get licensed. In the short run per se, what we have offered to the government is our cold chain facilities. For example, Sunshine Healthcare has last mile distribution from port to pharmacy for our insulins, which are at 2 to 8 degrees. So we have the entire cold chain, company managed and owned. So we have offered to partner with them in any way if we can help in that context for vaccine distribution per se. We have also talking to multiple people in the vaccine production, both from RDIF for the Sputnik vaccine, as well as from other markets in India. So I think we continue to look at it, but for now, the government is very keen for it to be directly imported by the SPC and sort of, distributed as a national program. So we continue to offer our support in that perspective.
Thanks, Sham. I think the next one is from Sanjay again. I think Shanta can take this. How much will a 5% increase in USD to rupee, the depreciation, affect the bottom line of the healthcare, especially the agency business? Shanta, can you give us some color on that?
Yes, Iran. Actually, as I said earlier, the depreciation has a direct impact on imports for pharma business, largely healthcare business. So every rupee would have nearly about a 2 million impact on the GP and directly going into bottom line. So we have been always trying to get, one is for us to continue to lobby to the government, to the authorities, so that right now everything is under control in terms of MRP increase. There are 73 molecules on gazette, and even which are out of gazette is not under our control to increase. So we are continuing to work with the authorities on that front, while we see that every rupee would have an impact on the bottom line. Thanks, Iran.
Thanks, Shanta. I think let's jump to agribusiness. A question from Heshan. Impact on recent wage increase on whatever plantation. Dinesh, if you mind taking that.
Yeah, actually, the wages, now it has gone to the wages board from the collective agreement setup, which was done for the last so many years. And yesterday it was decided a wage which need to be certainly, actually it has to be firmed up in the coming 2 weeks. So once that is there, only we should be able to know exactly what would be the numbers. So at the moment that we are working out the numbers, how much it would impact to Waterwala and also the Waterwala dairy.
Thanks, Dinesh. I think, as Dinesh said, we'll get back to you, Heshan, on that when we have further clarity on the exact numbers. Jumping on to another one from Nadika, and this is on consumer. What is the price outlook for the tea retail business going into 2021? Surit, if you don't mind taking that.
Yes. So the tea prices, we are expecting about a 4% increase come next year, because it's again based on fertilizer usage in the plantations and also the weather conditions, which have not been really favorable with sudden changes in weather. So we are looking at about a 4% increase in tea prices.
Thanks, Surit. So I think I've run through all the questions on the chat. If there's anything else which you would like for us to answer, happy to take on. Okay, I think there's no other questions for us. So I think it's time for us to wrap up the session. On behalf of the Sunshine team, I would like to thank everyone who participated and engaged with us to get more clarity on what we've been doing over the last quarter. So hope to see you all again in the fourth quarter webinar. Till then, have a good day and stay safe. Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, that was good. Leave it up,
Thanks, Kirana.
Thanks.